Senate Bill 736, Public Safety, Handgun Identification Requirements, repeal. Favorable.
For the House, favor for the committee. On favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Any further amendments to the bill which was titled? None. Bills ordered. Passed the third reading. And that's the work at the desk. Declare passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 736, Public Safety, Handgun Identification Requirements, repeal.
Third reading, final passage. Is there any debate? Not, clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Speaker.
Record the vote. Would anyone like to change your vote? Not, the clerk will take the call. 935 in the affirmative, 736 receiving. Constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Mr. Speaker, I move we adjourn Sine Die. Mr. President.
Welcome to the Sine Die edition of Lock&Load Radio. In studio with the awesome Dan Blasberg and the more than fabulous Mike Doherty. Thank you, boys, for coming.
Sorry about the audio on that one. I don't know what's muffling out the announcements, but the first two were Senate Bill 736, which I'm sure we're going to talk about later, but passing second and third readers in the House on Sine Die. And then the last two were going to be the announcements from the Speaker of the House and Senate President saying Sine Die, meaning we're out of here. Thank God, nothing more for this year.
Yeah, geez. Those are some big drinks. They're not drinking, I am. It's my job.
We make her do it.
They do. They force me.
It's the only way she can survive.
Yes, given the conversation that was going on in my garage with my husband, yes. Dan sits over there looking innocent. What
do we have to do with your husband?
Here we go. I haven't had enough bourbon yet. So anyway, it is April 15th. I hope everybody's either filed for their extension or filed for their taxes and
drop my lovely friggin' check in the mail at the post office down the street from your house.
I'm so sorry.
We're getting money back.
I'm getting money back from Maryland, but I always get money back from Maryland because I make enough that they don't allow me to take any exemptions. And since Maryland does not allow you to do any tax planning and forces you to only take by law the amount of exemptions you're entitled to, they take way too much money from you.
Wouldn't that I'm sorry.
If you actually read page 2 of the MW 507, it actually has a calculation that you're supposed to do. Based upon how much you earn, based upon your federally adjusted gross income, and then you have a factoring equation that says how many exemptions you are allowed to put on the form.
This is probably why I don't do the taxes.
I make enough that I'm not allowed any exemptions. Therefore, they take the maximum amount possible for withholding, and Maryland gets free money from me every year. But I've been pretty good about getting. And you're frozen. Does anybody have either one of you have the feed up?
Well, I did to make sure it was working, but hold on one second. Un momento, por favor.
So I make, regardless, the Maryland does not allow you, once you get to a certain point, doesn't allow you to do any proper tax planning. For years, I've been able to get to a point where I don't do, where I, very rarely, I'm like usually plus or minus $100 for federal, but Maryland, I'm screwed.
I don't think we're frozen.
We're up. We're moving.
Yeah,
okay.
No, I think we're good. So, all right, I'll put that on pause. So
there's
anyway,
a couple people saying it in the chat room. So,
well, I pulled it up on my Facebook, and I'm not on my own internet. So, I love it. I love this guy's username, Gyroplane, which wasn't on the agenda for today. But as long as we're there. I see Morpheus has joined us, although I don't know who that is. But I like the name.
Did he bring Neo with him?
Oh, it's what you call it? It's a superhero, super Avenger, super.
Did you never watch The Matrix?
No. I mean, I've seen like portions of it, but not enough to pay attention.
Okay.
Moving on.
She has no idea what the red pill and the blue pill are.
No, she doesn't.
I know enough not to take any pills that you all hand me. That's all I need to know.
But, no, never mind.
Dan, it's
Andy?
not 9 o'clock yet. At the top of your head. All right, so we are joined by several regular listeners, including Frogman. Thank you for joining us. I assume the rest will be along shortly, and it has been an interesting session. I'm not sure if I want to start with session or if I want to sort of pedal a little bit until everybody.
Your show, we just ride. So
I'm just along for the ride.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll do Maryland in a couple minutes.
Okay.
So let's see. So this week in the news, the Daily Beast, NRA, and this was on Breitbart. Quit lying. Obama is not anti-gun. So Daily Beast is telling NRA that Obama is not anti-gun. However, according to not just Breitbart, but it was actually Human Events reported that Obama endorsed, this is in 2010, a complete ban on all handguns on a general candidate questionnaire from September 9th, 1995. On that same questionnaire, he supported waiting periods for gun purchasers, which means you have to go buy a gun on Monday, but you don't take it home until Saturday, 5 days later. And of course, they make the point that, if you're being pursued by an attacker on Monday, that's not really a lot of help. But also, as an Illinois lawmaker, Obama supported laws that made the use of handguns for self-defense illegal by making the very possession of a handgun illegal. And by the way, what the Daily Beast, the original quote was, no one in the Obama administration or any Democrat administration has ever tried to take law-abiding citizens' guns away. Moreover, the Daily Beast said Obama, quote, can't, end quote, take guns even if he wanted to because the Supreme Court decided there is an individual right to keep and bear arms in 2008. However, the Daily Beast doesn't bother to check their facts. Human Events published this synopsis of other events of Obama's voting record as an Illinois state senator. Quote from Human Events. He supported a proposal to ban gun stores within 5 miles of a school or park, which is tantamount to banning gun stores, period, in Chicago, apparently. Or no, I'm sorry, that was when he was a state senator. He supported HB 2579, which prohibited law-abiding individuals from purchasing more than one gun a month. He opposed laws that permitted law-abiding citizens to carry firearms for self-defense, i.e. he opposed concealed carry. He supported a ban on junk guns, cheaper guns that poor people could actually afford to buy and use for self-defense. And he voted not to inform gun owners when the state of Illinois did record searches on them, which was Senate Bill 1936. And I'm sorry, wow, is that a little scary? So as recently as March 9th at South Carolina's Benedict College, Obama continued to assail the easy, ready availability of firearms, particularly handguns. And the Daily Beast's best comeback is the NRA is lying. So, yeah.
When you can't argue with facts, dive to emotion.
Make them up as you go along. Do not let facts get in the way of a good story. So yeah, that was interesting. And I don't read the Daily Beast. I came across it because Breitbart tends to be a reliable source. So, okay. So Rand Paul, we were talking about this last week. There was a big hubbub about Rand Paul not being asked, and I air quotes on that, to speak at the NRA. Well, there were several people that weren't asked, but when they indicated that they wanted to be invited, they were then invited. Rand Paul was not asked, nor did he indicate a desire to speak. Well, my handy-dandy producer found me an article from the Washington Times written by Kelly Riddle. And it turns out the NRA said, quote, we did not extend an invitation to Senator Rand Paul, and he didn't request to be invited, blaming the PAC lineup and scheduling constraints for Mr. Paul's absence. Mr. Paul and Governor Chris Christie are two of the only top-tier GOP 2016 hopefuls not speaking at the function. Insiders say it's because of Mr. Paul's association with the National Association for Gun Rights, hereon known as NAGR or NAGR, a rival pro-gun rights umbrella group that has angered other gun rights activists who accused the group of misleading mailings and headline stealing tactics. But here's a little bit interesting news. I'm not a big fan of NAGR. I mean, I support their anybody that supports the 2A is okay with me, but I'm bigger fans of other people and lesser fans of other people. NAGR was founded by Mike Rothfeld. Did you read this article before you sent it to me? Just out of curiosity.
Skimmed it.
Was founded by a man named Mike Rothfeld, a direct mail prodigy and owner of Virginia-based Sabre Communications, to which Mr. Paul and his political action committees paid $2.6 million for services during the 2014 election cycle. The Kentucky senator's father, Ron Paul, paid Sabre about $7.7 million for work it did for his 2012 presidential campaign, according to FEC filings. Sabre also handles the direct mail of NAGR and other conservative groups such as National Right to Work and some other stuff. More recently, the younger Paul's Reinventing a New Direction, RAND, Political Action Committee paid Sabre $7,400 last December 23rd to rent its mailing lists and contact names. Mr. Rothfeld said at a lecture entitled The Real Nature of Politics, I am a professional junk mailer, and I am a professional telemarketer. I am a professional spammer, like 100 million pieces of email a month. And I'm a professional negative campaigner, and I'm damn proud of all four. Mr. Rothfeld declined to discuss his business with the Washington Times, but NAGR officials portray the group as more conservative and effective than the NRA, which claims it is too connected to the official power structure in Washington. Last month, the group's affiliate in Mississippi, as labeled on NAGR's website, sent a letter to program advocates urging them to donate money so it could help fight a state bill to mark ammunition. The only problem? There was no such bill. Just recently, quote, this is a quote from the letter. Just recently, the Mississippi Registration Ammo Bill, Senate Bill 2030, was introduced, wrote Mississippi Gun Rights in a letter dated March 16th and obtained by the Washington Times. This is nothing more than an underhanded attempt to gut our gun rights here in Mississippi. The bill NAGR's letter was referring to was actually legislation dealing with Common Core, which is education for those of you that don't know. And the ammunition bill the group was referencing, Senate Bill 2219, had died in committee a month before the mailing was sent out. Sometimes there's a legitimate need to sound the alarm bells when there's actual danger on the horizon, said George Whitten Jr., who received the letter from the group. But this was just deceiving, making up danger and deceiving people on their mailing list just so they could send more money to help to defeat a bill that was already dead. By the way, NAGR blames the ammunition bill on a printing error, even though it went out a month after it was dead. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so he claims his group, he claims NAGR is much more aggressive and effective than the NRA. Mr. Paul's image is used on NAGR's fundraising.
We have fans.
I know. This is the problem with having the windows open. Mr. Paul's image is used on NAGR's fundraising materials, and the group consistently sends out both emails and letters credited to Mr. Paul on gun right issues. Before the 2014 midterms, the senator hosted a telemarketing call with about 6,000 NAGR supporters requesting $100 donations to help win political races. And in January, he appeared at a NAGR-sponsored event in New Hampshire. And look, here's the deal. I don't have a problem. Rand Paul's got a right to support whatever group he wants. But it comes across like, the guy that's running NAGR or it's just not good. It doesn't come across well. And if I were Rand Paul, I think I would want my 2A credentials a little cleaner than that. But the assertion that NAGR is more effective, I was trying to find that quote and I lost it that quick. Damn it, I lost the quote. I lost it.
I hate it when that happens.
I do too. But anyway, but that
She must not have highlighted it on her page.
I did not, oddly enough. Okay, I'm looking.
Look for the blue marker.
No bill. Anyway, I'm under pressure, so of course I can't find it quickly enough. Anyway.
Failure to perform under pressure.
Daniel.
It's now 9 o'clock. I can't say what I'm thinking.
It's not 9 o'clock. And by the way, hello, Centerville Liquors. So anyway, the bottom line is lots of people have complained to Rand that that NAGR officials are raising money and doing nothing with it but attacking other Republicans and Second Amendment groups for not being pure enough. Said Alan Gottlieb, the founder of the Second Amendment Foundation, which filed and won a landmark suit overturning Chicago's handgun ban, and made it clear that the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms applied to states and localities. Mr. Gottlieb said he never advocated. I'm sorry, last year NAGR attacked Mr. Gottlieb for supporting a national gun registry. And again, in a case of let's not bother checking the facts, Mr. Gottlieb said he never advocated for such a position. He did, however, support a Senate bill that expanded background checks, but prohibited any registry. According to Mr. Gottlieb, the NAGR misconstrued the bill and his position on it and orchestrated attacks only to raise discontent and mistrust among gun rights supporters. NAGR likes to take credit for filing an amicus brief for the McDonald case that they neither had anything to do with nor coordinated with Mr. Gottlieb's team. So in other words, they filed some papers about this case as a friend of the court, but they never called, the guy that was defending our rights to say, hey, do you want us to do this? We're doing this. Here's a copy. Screw you, whatever. He didn't do that. So I wish Rand wouldn't sign their letters, but they use Rand's list, and there's a fundraising synergy between the two of them. And I guess Rand's just not willing to let it go. So Mr. Gottlieb, the problem I have with NAGR is, and a friend of mine put this very, very well earlier to me today. So I'm going to use the analogy. Look, they are a pro-gun group, rock and roll. You fight with the army you bring. If I could find the analogy, I would read it to you. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful analogy. Okay, so if someone has a cake and you want cake, in fact, you want the whole cake, which in Maryland, we do want the whole cake, okay? But you're able to negotiate to get a slice of the cake. Okay.
Okay.
Do you walk away from the slice because they aren't giving you the whole cake? Yes or no? You want a whole cake. You negotiate for a slice. Do you? Okay. So, all right. So,
Probably not.
right. You don't walk away from the whole cake, right? You don't walk away from the slice you're going to get. Okay. But not only do they walk away from the cake, but they flip the cake, pick up the broken cake, smushes the cake, pieces of broken cake into the face of the baker, thus making said baker disinclined to bake any further cakes for you or your friends. I can't wait to hear where you're going with this.
It's not 9 o'clock.
And as my friend said, I'd rather have a slice of the cake now and come back later for some more cake and later for more. And maybe after a few slices in election cycle, a glass of milk and a scoop of ice cream. And I said that was very well put. But according to NAGR's website, they do not want access. See, this is why we need to have commercials so I can find out what is going on. NAGR does not want access to politicians and does not want to pass a gun bill just to get something done. A, the concept of slices of cake, and B, if you don't have access or maintain relationships with legislators on both sides of the aisle, how do you negotiate for your slice of the cake or the whole cake? But and their assertion that the NRA is more interested in cocktail parties. Well, I'd like to know how many pieces of legislation, how many pieces of cake NAGR has actually gotten versus the NRA. Just saying, irritates the crap out of me. So, how are we doing in the chat room?
Oh, there's been a couple of them. There's a couple of comments in there about 2A in Maryland brought up that NAGR and Dudley Brown tried to torpedo the Colorado recalls. I don't have anything further on that one, so I can't say yea or nay or make any kind of a comment. Bolt's bringing up the fact that NAGR spams you with emergencies on a daily basis. There are a couple of 2A groups that do that, some of which I appreciate, some of which I don't. Since we're talking about the whole genesis of this conversation was because Mr. Paul claims he was not invited to speak at the NRA convention, or backers or whoever's making that claim.
Well, and he also
Frog-
didn't indicate that he wanted to, which is a
Yeah, exactly.
couple of speakers said.
We mentioned that one. I was just
Okay.
bringing the NRA convention back into it because Frogman brought up a news from the day that it was sure to tweak some people the wrong way. Surprised that Tim McGraw didn't speak at the NRA convention.
Oh,
So
you're killing me.
Nice.
All right, so I happen to have that article pulled up.
I happen to have it right on my screen too.
All right, did you read it? Because I didn't read the whole thing.
Let's see. There's
breaking
an
my heart.
article on there from Breitbart about the fact that on July 17th, country singers Tim McGraw and Billy Currington will headline a fundraiser for the gun control group Sandy Hook Promise in Connecticut. So NBC Connecticut in the article the article quotes NBC Connecticut, quoting McGraw as saying, "Out of this tragedy, a group was formed that made a promise to honor the lives lost and to turn it into a moment of transformation. Sandy Hook Promise teaches that we can do something to protect our children from gun violence. I want to be part of that promise as a father and as a friend." So, yeah,
So I'm now brokenhearted.
I was gonna say, obviously, there's some that are going to want to not listen and other things.
Now I can't go to his
but-
concert if he ever comes to town. The next thing I'm going to find out is I'm aware of Toby Keith's restaurant's policy. Next thing somebody's going to tell me is that he's anti-gun, and then I'm going to be really upset. But I find that hard to believe, so we'll just leave that go. But anyway, yeah, very disappointing on Tim McGraw's part, and I don't understand. I mean, I understand not wanting to take a position. If you're a country musician and you don't want to take a position, fine, you have a career. But to come out and be anti-gun or pro-gun control, and be a country and have made your millions or however much.
I'll take the conversation back again. I am pro-gun control. I hit what I'm shooting at.
Exactly.
Yes, but obviously that is not the definition shared by Tim McGraw and probably his wife. So,
Too bad for them.
however, I did not always know, although I have known for about a year, that Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie are not only gun owners, but they have their own range on their property.
Yes.
I wish I had enough property. I don't think
I don't think your neighbors would like it. No,
I don't think my wife would appreciate it.
no, probably not. Probably not. So,
and cool, Bolts. Great to bring another person into the fold.
yay.
Since Bolts said made a new AR wannabe owner this weekend. So
Excellent,
Nice job.
Excellent.
if we can all do that.
Open carry event at the concert. I think Tennessee is an open carry.
I don't think it's going to be in Tennessee, though, is it?
Well, not if
hold
it's
on.
not if it's a.
I think it's in Connecticut, not Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be going to Tennessee to be raising money for gun control.
And yes, Tennessee is an open carry state.
Okay. All right. Well, so while he's looking that up.
Let's see. I got one out of Washington.
All right.
Let's see.
And then we'll get to Annapolis.
An idiot attacks an open carrier for his weapon in a Washington
Oh,
Walmart.
I saw that one earlier.
And by idiot, I replaced the word felon. So in Yakima, Washington, a man was attacked in a Walmart. He was out there shopping with at least 3 kids. He was open carrying the SIG. And I'm paraphrasing from the article here. A guy decides to pick up an aluminum T-ball bat and take a swing at the guy's head. The gentleman that's carrying is paying attention, moves to the side, takes a shot to the shoulder and the neck, knocks the guy down, pulls his weapon, and exercises his Second Amendment right to hold him there. Police show up, ask what's going on. The gentleman that was open carrying had a lawful permit to do so. Police showed up, arrested the gentleman that swung the bat. The reason the gentleman swung the bat was he was trying to take out the open carrier and steal his SIG.
Not terribly smart.
No, hence why I started it as idiot.
Not the wisest thing to do. So, anybody see anything more about Walmart's? We talked last week about their shareholders.
No, I haven't seen.
Haven't seen
I haven't seen
anything more
anything
about
come
that.
up about it.
No.
Okay. All right. So Annapolis, Monday night was Sine Die,
It was.
and we got 2 fabulous pieces of legislation out. Both pieces related, obviously. If it's on Lock and Load, it's definitely going to be related to firearms.
Technically, we got 3, but
I know the waterfowl one.
we
736.
we
What's the
got
third
we
one?
got strict liability. We got 736.
Oh, the other one doesn't count.
Well, it does affect gun owners though, in a somewhat positive way.
No, you don't. Okay, back up. So they're taking short barrel rifles off the handgun
And shotguns.
Review board. I think that's a net.
I think so too.
I think it's a net zero. I don't think it's a gain. I don't think it's a loss. I think it is okay because of the way the law is written. It's defined so oddly in the law. I don't know that it's going to get us anything except my concern is, okay, so if it's in front of the handgun review board, then they have to decide. But now that it's off the handgun review board, can they now, I don't know, regulate against them?
Yes.
So
Well, they've been regulating against them anyway because Maryland State Police has held that yes, it's a handgun, but it also falls under the copycat clause of the assault weapons ban. And Engage Armament had a lawsuit that said you can't have it both ways. So they took it off the handgun review board or the handgun roster board so that it doesn't have to go through. Number one, they didn't want to do it. But I also have it on good authority that the handgun review board didn't actually request this.
yeah, that was I think it was came from I think it was one of the Einstein moves of Kathleen Dumais.
It was, but she and MSP claimed that the request came from the review board, which it did not.
And you know that because?
I know that because a certain older gentleman that you and I and Mike have worked closely with, his organization has a gentleman that sits on the review board that he went to and asked and said emphatically, no, we did not request this.
You called my boyfriend?
I did.
Okay.
Actually, I didn't have to call your boyfriend. You're when we were discussing that day at Gunville.
You
Day.
spoke to my boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anyway, that's another story. When you see me in private, I'll tell you the story. I'm not going to out him. It's a joke. It is a big joke because I think this guy is awesome and he's very good at his job, even when we massively disagree. Massively. He is always very nice about it. And so I'm always happy to go talk to him.
So one quick callback before we move on to the next one, because a couple people in the chat mentioned that they thought that the Third Circuit had given Walmart the win. An article from Reuters, and there's another one posted in the chat room. Walmart defeats on April 14th. Walmart defeats the bid for shareholder vote on gun sales. The federal appeals court on Tuesday lifted an injunction that would have required Walmart stores to let shareholders vote on a proposal to tighten oversight.
Good. So they got their way.
Yep.
What the heck do shareholders know about? What items are going to make them money?
It's like we talked about before. Being a shareholder, holding voting shares in a stock just means that you have the power to help vote the board and let the board make the decisions. That's why the companies do it that way. So.
Oh, that's not what I thought you meant.
Yes, I know. That's why I sent it to you.
Okay. All right. That's not who I thought that was. Okay.
Yeah, when she said
Tall
that. No.
hangs outside of judiciary.
No.
Okay. Well, that's who I thought you meant.
No.
Okay. Anyway.
Different boyfriend.
No. Anyway. Let's not confuse the audience. So anyway, all right. So that got passed, and the nets and the losses there, I think it ends up at zero. But whatever. But okay. So it does affect the gun community. Important for them to know. Senate Bill 736, sponsored by the fabulous Senator Ed Riley, out of Anne Arundel, District 33 to be specific, sponsored a bill to finally disband the shell casing program.
Formerly known as ballistics fingerprinting.
Yes. And we'd managed to get the money, most of the money cut for that program, but they were still collecting and this, that, and the other thing. And I went in on behalf of the Maryland State Rifle and Pistol Association. Dan testified on behalf of Maryland Shell Issue. Shannon, of course, testified. John Jocelyn from Associated Gun Clubs and many, many others went and testified in both houses on that bill. And it passed. And you heard it pass thanks to Mike Doherty's fabulous producing.
Or at least the attempt to hear it pass. And just to come full circle on it, because it was a cross-filed bill. There was a bill in the House Bill 39, sponsored by Delegate South Howard, who, in the same time that the third reader was passed for Senate Bill 736, the committee actually brought out the cross-file at the same time, and they voted on HB 39 in the same calendar, voted the same. It was voted out 135 to 2, but it never, based upon looking in here, it never made it across the street. Because like we said, in the very same calendar, they passed the Senate bill, which were word for word matching
They have
documents.
to be, yeah.
So,
if it's a crossfile,
Yep.
it has to be. And if anybody can find out during the show who those two were, I'll
I've
buy
been
you a
looking
drink the next time I see you.
I've been looking and on both of those, HB 39 and
Yeah.
Senate Bill 736, the third reader votes are not posted. I haven't gone back to look at the calendar to see if anything else in that calendar
Yeah.
actually shows up or not.
I just thought, if it was written up somewhere.
Strict liability.
So that was a major. That was a major win. So that was a slice of the cake for us. We of course, this is Maryland. We are never going to get the whole cake all at once. So that was a slice of the cake. The next slice of the cake was strict liability, which for those of you who hunt, specifically waterfowl, but I think it applies generically to all hunting, doesn't it?
I believe so.
I didn't testify in this bill, so I didn't read it.
I believe it does.
Okay. But I know it applies to waterfowl. We are now, Maryland is now meeting the federal standard. Before, what was happening is, if you say you live in Virginia and you drive in to go hunt geese there's a fine outfitter down the road from me. And they 5 days ago had bait out on the field. They removed the bait. 5 days later, you come in and you go hunting. DNR comes in and they give you the tickets or whatever, but you're in large financial trouble mostly, and also your hunting permit is in danger. Large financial trouble because you were supposed to have known that they were baiting 5 days ago, even though you don't live here. And frankly, it wouldn't have mattered. If I lived down the street and went to this outfitter and they baited yesterday, how the heck would I know? And why should I be? The federal law requires that that the state prove that you know.
You had to have willful intent.
Yeah. And, like if you're sitting, in the blind and there's a big pile of corn, or I should say stand, because you'd probably be deer hunting at that point, but there's a big pile of corn right underneath your stand, 6 feet long and 8 feet wide. You probably should have known. Okay. And I find that to be reasonable since we have no baiting laws here in the state. So they have removed the strict liability standard now and coming to compliance with the feds on this, where the state has to prove that you should have reasonably known. So that is a second piece of the pie for us as gun owners. Keep in mind that not everybody that owns guns hunts. Not everybody that hunts goes to the range on the weekends. I happen to do both. So, as a matter of fact, that's where I was Sunday. And it was a beautiful day.
So a couple of callbacks real quick before we move off of those. There are some folks in the chat room making comments about funny how the way that Senate Bill 736 was passed and referencing the fact that it was heard back in March, back on the gun bill days,
Right.
and sat there. So having hung around for Sine Die and having hung around for the Sine Die party afterwards, got a chance to get involved in a conversation with a couple of people, and I'm not going to name names just because I didn't tell them I was going to talk about anything. So, but there was a lot of discussions, lobbying from lobbyists and lobbying from other delegates and senators in both buildings to try to move this one, and it was largely moved by, I think, more internal politics than anything else. Just a lot of people working towards, hey, this is a financial issue. It is something stupid that's being funded. It's a waste of time and money. If we're serious about looking for monetary reasons why we need to make changes, and this is what it is. But there was a lot of effort about it, and we had heard, those of us that, this is my third time hanging out for Sine Die, my second time hanging out with a group of friends. First time I was down there just as a lone citizen and not involved in any of the backroom stuff. But
well, that's your fault. So
yes, I know.
You should have
but,
rolled into my office earlier.
but at the same time, it's a lot, so I've actually been around to hang around for some of this stuff, and hearing Monday was a rather stressful day for the entire legislature because they didn't have a whole lot of stuff to do. And there's only so much public debate that they're going to be willing to do on the budget and everything else on the floor. And after all the speeches that were made over the weekend about how much they were working and how much, Larry Hogan was off doing other things, they needed stuff. They were pulling things out to just get stuff out and talk about it. And so it was a lot of effort. And some of the delegates that I heard talking about it were, there were a couple of them saying they made calls to every member of the committee on both sides of the street to try to push the issue.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think this is one of the first times where more work got done from inside the offices over there than from outside the offices. And by that,
well, there was a will to get it passed.
There was.
So.
And from both sides.
Right.
So this is and hopefully it's a start.
I mean, it's small. I realize there are a lot of people in the community, both on our favorite forums and some other forums, other sites that have some discussion capabilities and allow discussion about Maryland issues that are, it's this is so great, sarcasm intended. It took a long time to get here, as a lot of people have said in the boards over a lot of issues. It's taken a long time to get here. Yes, it's small. Yes, it may not seem like much, but it is something that has sat there and been brought up year after year after year and finally moved.
Let me speak to that for a minute, because I've been dealing with this since Monday, and the message that I've been trying to get out to folks is the way we got here was by not paying attention to the insignificant, air quotes, issues. And for those people that call this an insignificant issue, fine, that's your opinion, that's your view, that's great. I'm going to disagree with you. Okay? It's a small issue, it's not insignificant. The way the other side has gotten to this point is they started out with small, quote unquote, insignificant issues, and they built their successes on those. And that's where they built their foundation to then put the bricks in the wall that we are now trying to take apart one brick at a time.
Right. We got a piece of cake.
These two,
actually, we got two.
This is the start. These two were our small successes. We need to build on these for the rest of this year and going into the next session.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes. And Morpheus says, hopefully we are slowing the runaway cart and can start pushing it the other way. And I would say to you, I agree. I think we have slowed, if not stopped, the runaway cart because they weren't able to get any gun control through this year. So I say for the nods, it has stopped. Now we'll see if we can start pushing it the other way. We've got a little muscle now with the brand new legislature. So we'll see what happens. So, whining that we didn't get enough isn't going to do it. Okay. And anybody that thought that, gosh, we were going to have session and all the gun laws were going to change in Maryland really doesn't get involved with the process. They really just don't understand what goes on down in Annapolis. They don't pay attention to what not necessarily what I'm saying, not necessarily what Dan's saying, but with people who are involved down there are saying. So, and then that was my point with Nigger, is that the NAGR is that, they poo-poo the NRA because they have relationships with legislators. Well, you must have relationships.
If you don't have the relationships, you can't educate them.
Exactly. And you can't
have a discussion with them.
So this one took some education to get people to buy off on it. Correct. In the Senate. It took some education to redirect some of the conversation to allow it to come out of the committee on the House side. Right. And it's something we can leverage to go after some of the folks not go after, but continue conversations with some of the folks that we know are truly on the fence from the other side of the table, are truly on the fence and want to be able to do stuff and want to be able to expose themselves, but are afraid to because of the national parties and the local, the state level party. Yeah, it can be used to educate and go, hey, these are some of the things that apply to this particular case.
Right,
we can look
it's
back
not
at
a red or a blue; it's a purple.
Right.
Yes,
Exactly.
and but it allows them a little bit more flexibility to move.
So shifting gears just for a moment, while we were waiting for all of this to happen, Shannon and I and Mike and John and Dan, we were all doing various things. And my comment to a friend of ours on Facebook, he said to me, well, you know, I said, just wait, because if the budget stalls out, they're going to be looking, we might have a chance to get some other stuff out. Because what happens is they have to fill the time.
Yeah, they have to do something.
They have to do something. Now, believe me, I have been down there for 8 years. This is my 8th or 9th Sine Die. I can't remember which. But anyway, I have been down there a long
Too much alcohol.
to go back and look at my resume because I always have to create. I can't remember what year I started without looking at my resume.
And I know she had more after I left.
No, actually,
No?
we went,
Didn't-
went and drank water.
Oh, okay.
We sat around and chatted for a little while, but
Drank water. So, anyway, but I figured, they adjourned 3:00 in the afternoon. No, they adjourned.
They adjourned at 6, came back at 9.
Came back at 9, and I figured, if the budget talks stall, they're going to be looking to fill the time because they were not going to
Right.
adjourn again after 9:00. It's just not done. I mean, yes, they could have. Is it possible? Yeah, sure. The speaker and Mr. President can do whatever the hell they want to do. It's their chamber. But so I said to our friend, just wait, because the longer this stalls, the longer it takes the liberals to get off their butts and decide that they work for Maryland, the better this could be for us. And that was because I knew that they would have to find other bills to get through. And I knew that there were other bills that were somewhat attractive to some of the players that we normally wouldn't have the support of. Things have changed. There's a new marshal in town.
well, and one of the comments I was going to make is about, we didn't see a whole lot of movement on a lot of things related, whether they were positive or negative. We didn't see very many things that are negative unless you were really trying to read something into some of the bills. But we did not have the governor's mansion and the governor's offices, specifically GOCCP, trying to push the legislators in a certain direction. Unlike in 2013, where it was, we all knew that was the government stomping on people and threatening money in the budgets, threatening, using that as leverage to have Mike threaten committee seats and all that stuff. There was none of that this time around. So, it was left up to the Mike twins, without having Marty sitting on top of them.
Somebody keeps posting to my Facebook every time I put up something about about Bush or Miller. Bush and Miller, great beer, bad for Maryland. It corrects me.
I kind of have to say they're kind of never mind.
Okay.
German beers are better.
Okay.
Yes.
So then you would say bad beer, bad for Maryland?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the budget passed, and as is typical for tense negotiations, whatever the negotiation is, everybody got some of what they wanted, and everybody got none of what they wanted. I think Larry Hogan did a yeoman's job trying to put through a budget that was fiscally sensible. And I am not the only one that thinks so. And to wit, I will refer you to, to two newspapers. One is the Cumberland Times News, and the other one's the Washington Post. I'll get to the Post in a minute. Maryland Democratic, this is from the Cumberland Times News, posted Tuesday. Maryland Democratic leaders should have learned a lesson from last year's election results. Instead, they resisted Governor Larry Hogan's efforts to address the state pension system shortfalls and future budget deficits. The biggest sore spot for Hogan and the state lawmakers was the budget. Hogan said Monday he thought the $40 billion budget spearheaded by Democrats was irresponsible. The budget included $203 million that the Democrats wanted to spend on education, a 2% cost of living adjustment for state employees, and healthcare programs. There was some progress made during the 90-day legislation. No new taxes were approved. Charter schools gained more flexibility. The hated rain tax that imposed state-mandated stormwater fees was repealed, and military retirees over 50 will now get a $10,000 exemption on their pensions, up from $5,000. In the end, though, the bipartisan spirit that both sides talked about eroded. Democrats pushed through a budget bill that Hogan found objectionable. With the Democrats holding the overwhelming majority in both the Senate and the House, they essentially told Hogan and Maryland voters, like it or else. And I thought that was pretty well put. That was written by, it doesn't have an author's name, so I can't give him or her credit, but it was the Cumberland Times News. And it was posted yesterday. But interestingly enough, this was just put up at 7 o'clock, and I just ran across it, Julia's page. At Washington Post, dysfunction, and this is the op-ed piece. So it's written by the editorial board. And they talk about, session, pretty much what I just said, but it's really interesting. It ends with the very last paragraph is, for all his rookie mistakes, Mr. Hogan was the one in Annapolis who seemed to grasp the exigencies of a divided government. The Democrats, to all appearances, are still learning. That from the Washington Post.
Interesting.
Yeah. Another quote from that article that the governor chose to share on his page. To hear the Democratic lawmakers tell it, you'd think they spent the session trying to rescue schools and public employees from the predations of an alien invader. In fact, in their budget impasse with the governor, they were mainly intent on protecting their party's core constituents today and shifting the burden of paying state pensions to Maryland taxpayers in the future. So good on him. He did a great job. And again, slices of the cake. We got a lot of slices of the cake as Maryland citizens under Governor Hogan that we would never have seen. Speaking of which, while I don't have an article on it, Tom Hooker, do y'all remember Delegate Tom Hooker?
No.
Can't say that I do.
I think he's out of Montgomery, but anyway, his first piece of legislation, a tax. He's all proud of himself. He's now county councilman or city councilman or something. I forget what, but he's all proud of himself because, he's taxing e-cigarettes. I'm like, only you would put up and be so proud that your first piece of legislation is a tax. What part of the last election did you not understand? Of course, maybe that's why he did. I don't know. That's not fair. I don't even know if he ran in the last election. So yes, a good time was had by all. Much celebrating was going on amongst the 2A team in Annapolis. I was also asked about what did the NSSF do. They worked with us and were an integral part of the team that got all of these bills through, and we thank the National Shooting Sports Foundation very, very much. Can we get the state to open? Can we get the state under Hogan to open more shooting ranges like the one in Elk Neck in state parks, or grant money to open them on county land under county control? Is that administrative or legislative? I don't know the answer to that. I'll find out. These are questions that were sent to me on Facebook by a friend of ours, and I said I would try to deal with them. That
might be administrative under DNR, since
it might be, but I don't know because it's a shooting thing, so I don't know.
Yeah, have to find out.
Well, and the other problem is that if and I don't know, Mike, you probably wouldn't know this, but it used to be when I was growing up, we could go hunt on Fort Meade. I don't even know if you can still do that anymore.
Still can.
Certain parts of it,
yeah.
and in certain seasons.
It's still the same area.
We used to go hunting there.
Except for now, you have to go to the Patuxent Wildlife Research Group, which now owns what is now referred to as the North Tract. which is the old ranges at Fort Meade, and get a permit from them.
Not a big deal. So, as far as the state parks, I don't know. But I would say to you that I suspect that because there's other things going on at these parks, it may become more difficult. Go ahead.
No, when you're done with that one, I just want to circle back and catch up.
Let me just. They want to hear. He wants to talk about fundraising opportunities. We'll talk about that offline because I need to get with the organizations and see what they want to do. Pelosi, Pelosi. WTF is going on there. I can't tell you because I don't know what you're referring to. But if you want to Facebook me and tell me what you're talking about, that'd be great because I don't know what it is you're referring to. It just says Pelosi, WTF. So go ahead.
So there's been some commentary just as, in the sidebars when we were going back to the session and everything else about needing to vote out, getting more R's in instead of D's, and being careful with what we select for candidates. And some folks mentioning getting Bush and Miller out and getting out some of the committee chairs. I'll make a comment on the committee chairs. I am not as deeply involved from any of the organizational sides. I've been there. I've seen some of the back end stuff, backroom stuff. I've met at least Chairman Valerio, and sat in committee sessions for both judiciary and judicial proceedings. On the judiciary side, the House, if Joe goes, the most likely candidate to replace him is Delegate Dumais, who we don't want anywhere near that chair. She's the vice chair right now. And while she conducts, when Joe is not in the room and she's conducting hearings, she does conduct them in the way that he does. And, she doesn't listen, obviously, but she at least gives people time. I can say that about it, but we don't want her ideology in that chair. On the Senate side, if Zirkin, we were all, when Frosch decided to run for Attorney General, there was a lot of us going, who the heck are they going to pick? God, I hope they don't pick this one. They picked Zirkin, and I looked at it and went, wow, I'm actually surprised. And I can actually kind of deal with that one. He's unlike, Dan made the comment in the chat room, unlike his predecessor, he gave everybody time. When he was in the room and in the seat, the timer was set for 3 minutes the whole time, and he gave people time. And if you went a little bit over, you went a little bit over. As long as you weren't running too much, he gave you some leeway. He gave those that he recognized or came up and identified themselves as coming up from a group time beyond the 3 minutes. Yes, he did not allow panels. Yes, he did allow a panel for the DNA one, and he has allowed panels occasionally.
But a week later, he did allow panels for 736.
Okay, but I can also say that there were several of us that had a conversation with his chief of staff, who is also I think it was his chief of staff. She also helps him run the committee hearings. She provides the schedule for the bills and the schedule, or not schedule, but the listing of the witnesses that are coming in to testify.
She makes the trains go.
Yeah.
That's what it cost us.
So she's the one helping him to run the hearing. She came out because of the way that the first couple of things went. A couple of us went, this isn't right. What's going on? She actually came out into the hallway outside and very specifically told us, this is not the first time. It will not be the last time. He does not like panels, regardless of who asked for the panels. Yes, in years past, we've had committee chairmen on both sides that have said, if you sign up as a panel and the sponsor of the bill wants you as a sponsor panel, you come up as a sponsor panel. He apparently doesn't think that that's a good way to run things. It's his committee to run for the next 4 years. It's his rules to make. But yeah, the only thing we can do is professionally try to educate him in the background if that's the way we want to do it.
My problem is he allowed panels for other bills that were not gun related.
Not in general. There were a couple of ones that you look at that they don't. That day, yes, he did one. He did one panel early.
You either believe in panels, or
yes, I know.
I mean, I'm just saying.
But at the same time, I'm just saying we did have some conversations, and it's one of those things that during the off time during the session, there are, we can always express our opinion as citizens back to them to say, this is what we think, this is the way most of the other committees work. Why are you different?
Oh my gosh. And then when we did do the, was it the DNA one where we had to go, we needed to go as a panel because we had information, the court information?
Yes, it was one of those that Joe allowed us to do it. And Zirkin did.
Right. Zirkin. Well, no, but we needed Shannon to go first because she had the intricacies of the court case.
Yes.
So we managed to wrangle so that Shannon could go because she had the up-to-date, most current information, and that is that there is a court case pending. And boy, was Jamie Raskin beside himself because he just sees himself as, I guess, the future appointee to the Supreme Court or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
but
that was a fun one.
He was really like, well, and it's like, it's in front of what? The Supreme Court, isn't it?
Yes, Supreme Court.
So what is there to debate? But he apparently saw this as a great effrontery.
Well, the way he was responding to her, it almost sounded like, he was, it's like, well, no, you're not agreeing with me. And it's like, Shannon went up there specifically saying, I'm here from the NRA. We have no position. We are here,
Correct.
Information only. You need to be aware of this.
Right.
And he was asking her questions like, well, why should this even be there? And what's up with this? And it's like, okay, listen, wait 90 days for the Supreme Court decision to come out. You'll find out what their reasoning is.
Right. And you got that information from whatever. And he was questioning her information. And she's like, they got it from the only source there is on this coming out of the Supreme Court, which I'd love to tell you what it was, but I don't have Shannon here to ask her, and I can't remember. But
it would have been the Supreme Court.
No, there's a specific person that writes his stuff up. So,
was she reading something from SCOTUS blog or for somewhere else?
No,
that's okay.
I wish she was listening. She could bail my ass out. But anyway, 4 minutes to go. Anyway,
I'd like to point out that it was neither Dan nor I that screwed up again this week.
That's right. You all torment me enough. Moving on. Anything? Shut up. Anything else in Annapolis that you guys want to talk about? Other than the fabulous Larry Hogan.
It was great weather.
It was great weather for
it was great weather, and it was just funny is that we were going to pick something up. No, we were going to ask a question.
Okay.
We were going to ask a question of somebody. Oh no. We were going to pick something up. She had to pick something. It was one of our party had to pick something up from a senator's staffer.
We went to the State House.
And we were walking. We initially thought we were going over to the Senate office building. And as we're walking, all of a sudden Shannon goes, wait, stop. So we all stopped. Oh, it's the wrong bill. And then wait, stop. So we were literally standing in front of the steps to the State House,
take 4
listening
steps.
to Andy's iPhone as the live audio stream was coming up for the House to hear Senate Bill 736 passed. So there's lots of high fives as we're walking down the street.
It was awesome. It was really awesome.
That was cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool. So it was a good night.
Hey, Andy, guess what?
We got a bill signing.
We're going to a bill signing.
We are. So we're very excited about that. Honestly, I think the citizens of Maryland won big. Larry Hogan and the Republicans in Annapolis, God bless them all, were able to stop the absolute bleed. I know there's got to be a better word for it. You guys are Mike, you're the medical dude, but the absolute just arterial bleeding that was coming out.
I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
Marylanders' wallets. No new taxes were passed. There was benefits for charter schools, and it was a good session. It was one of the.
I gotta say,
one of the happiest I've seen in a while, and my only I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything major. But my only regret is that there were 2 guys there who weren't there to see it. So one is up in Elkton and the other one is in Texas.
We need to send him the link so he can listen.
Yeah, we should.
Actually, you need to find out when he's going to be in town next time and invite him to be on the show.
Oh, you know what? I should. We talked to his wife on Sine Die, so we totally should.
Yeah, you need to do that.
Yeah,
Need to get.
He's been on the show with me before.
I know, but not as Mr. Pipkin.
I know.
We need to have.
He will always be Senator Pipkin.
I understand
think it's
that.
a little bit. With
I
all
miss the yellow
respect,
vet.
with all respect to the man to my right, I think once a senator, always a senator.
Yeah.
So,
But met quite a few new legislators on both sides. The new Republicans that came in, I think we've got a very good crowd of good partners to work with there.
Who's Pat Young? Is he? I met him yesterday getting my car out of the hotel valet.
I have no idea.
Okay, I'll look him up. Thank you. It just occurred to me. Very nice man.
And I think there are possibly a few more Democrats that are fence sitters that, with the proper education, will be beneficial over the next couple of years. So it was a good it was a good first year of a 4-year term, and all we can do is build on it, and I think we will.
Excellent. Oh, he's a Marine.
Okay.
Delegate. Oh, he's a Democrat. You should go talk to him. Jarhead to Jarhead.
Okay.
Yeah, I met him yesterday. Served in the Marine Corps Infantry.
NCO.
I think I'd let the Marines hammer it out.
True. Well, I was a REMF, that's all.
I'm not laughing at that.
9 o'clock and back to why you don't want icing on your slice of cake. Oh, Jesus. Is that why? Is that why? Okay, yeah, I can't read that on the I can't read that on the air. Sorry. There may be children listening. Oh,
Doobie, doobie,
God. All right.
doobie, doobie.
Moving on.
Doobie, doobie, doo.
So the NRA convention was interesting.
It was in Nashville.
It wasn't that.
I offered to take you last week, and you said no.
No, you said you would drive. That's not offering to take me. We are.
That's not.
No, you said you could make it in 10 hours. Forget it. I don't even want to have this conversation because there is no way I'm going to win. Forget it.
Oh my God! Did Andy just admit there's a conversation she can't win?
On the air.
But you admitted it in public.
You did, Bolton. I thank you very much for waiting until 9 o'clock. But that was pretty funny. Okay.
Thanks for the backup.
And I'd like to know, Bolts, I'd like to know the source of that information. So if you can find me a source, send me the link. I would appreciate it.
She wants one with pics.
First of all, don't speak for me. And second of all, no, I don't. At any rate.
Send pics, Bolts.
Maybe I need to give you bourbon. Valium, something. Anyway,
It's just soda.
I know. I think that's the problem. I know Mike was listening because we were talking via Facebook to the speakers at the NRA convention, and some of them I was really, really impressed with.
Some of them not so much.
Not so much. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't the quality. It wasn't what they said. They said the right things. They all did a nice job, in terms of what they said and how they said it. But there were some that you listened to and you
very lackluster and had me questioning why people think they're public speakers.
And then there were people like Scott Walker who were inspiring and focused and amazing. But he was not the only one. But I did dig up a couple articles. Actually,
Something tells me she has a crush on Scott Walker.
Oh, I have a big thing for Scott Walker. Well, it's a political crush, so it's not like, inappropriate or anything.
So that's all we have to claim. As long as it's political, there's nothing.
I have a picture of him and I. But he's awesome. I mean, he is awesome. Awesome. What he did with the unions in Wisconsin, oh my God. And then he hunts. Really, seriously, on paper, love this guy. So, and I don't ever want to get to know him better than that because I'm afraid he's going to turn out to be, I I don't know, testy or something and disappoint me. So anyway, Perrin's with us. Hello, Perrin.
Your link for information is posted in the chat.
Oh my God. And it's HuffPost too.
Yes, it is.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. So if you want to know what we're talking about, you're going to have to go into the chat room. And yes, I think you actually can access the chat room after in when the show is not live, and go back and scroll up to CAD 68M. Put up yeah. Okay. So anyway,
Nice.
I'm gonna move on. We are at war. This is not a time of peace, Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina told the NRA Convention. My goal is to make sure that we go after those bastards who are trying to kill us and everyone like us, and make sure that they feel the wrath of this country, that we dig them out and we kill them, because there is no other substitute. Another speaker, name this speaker. We need a president who will be straight up with the American people and look them in the eye and tell them it is not a matter of if, it is when they make another attempt on American soil. And for the sake of my children and yours, I am not going to wait. I am going to take the fight to them before they bring the fight to us. Do you remember? It was a lot of speeches.
No.
Okay. Well, that was Scott Walker. So I thought that was pretty awesome. Ted Cruz, it took a shot at the President Obama. The Obama-Clinton foreign policy of leading from behind does not work. By the way, the thing that I liked about Scott Walker, he was this first speaker to walk onto the floor. And before he said, and they only had a certain amount of time to speak, each of them, and he immediately stood up and said, and said, you know, he started talking about the Constitution, and he said, you know, we are here because of our veterans and our active duty who are willing to stand up for their Constitution. If you are here and you have served in our military in any capacity, would you please stand up? And I just was like, what a classy thing to do, you know. And there were several speakers in front of him. Are you okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Just questions from the house.
You can open that window. You look hot.
It is warm in here, but I'm trying to keep the noise from the dogs down a little bit.
Puppy's inside, so
Yeah, well, the howling dog outside is
The
not.
beagle, yeah, I know, but that would be this window more than the other. NRA leaders talked about it's raising as much as $70 million to fight against Mrs. Clinton, whose former husband, President Bill Clinton, led the push in the 1990s for some of the stiffest gun control laws on the books. Memories of those battles are energizing the NRA and we members of the NRA. When our next president is elected, we vow on this day that name will not be Hillary Rodham Clinton, said Wayne LaPierre on Saturday. NRA member Joe Robinson from Michigan shared the sentiment. I am still trying to see what the Republican Party is bringing forward and offering up, and I know what I don't want, the 62-year-old said. I don't want to see another Clinton in the White House. I just don't want to see it. One reason that Bill is going to be there as well, and I don't want Bill in the damn White House again. I think that's cute, yeah. Some comments on the rest of the convention. Gun raffles, quick draw demonstrations, and virtual shooting games were among the offerings. One exhibit displayed a Kawasaki motorcycle with a 50 cal machine gun mounted on it. A poster next to it featured the image of a woman lying next to a machine gun with the caption, "When size matters." I thought that was really good. Marco Rubio, who was expected to formally, well, he now has and entered the race, said the issue of gun rights and national security intersect. Everyone in this room understands something that our president does not. Strong defenses on the national and personal level are a means of preventing violence, not of promoting it, Mr. Rubio said. Weakness, on the other hand, is the friend of danger, and weakness is the enemy of peace. President Obama has been a weak president. I kind of have to agree with you. You know, as long as we're on the
President's lead.
Yeah.
This one does not.
Right. I have to tell you, you guys know I'm on Twitter, and you know that there are several that I follow a whole bunch of people, and several people follow me. One of them is a former member of the House Judiciary, sat down the row from Mike.
Okay.
And he, I won't mention his name because we actually all like him. He didn't vote with us, but we actually all like him, and I won't out him. But he tweeted out, like within minutes of the Hillary logo coming out, my wife says it looks like the hospital is this way sign. And then the press, I don't know that the press picked up on his tweet, but after that, the press was all over it. So I don't know if it was a case of the Echo getting the credit, but I thought it was hysterical because this particular delegate used to work for the Clintons. So I thought that was very, very funny. Hey, you got anything you want to talk about? Mike?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can add on. I know you're pointing at piles of paper. So I got to listen to some of them, and I was actually glad to get to listen to a couple of them. I was very impressed with Sheriff Clark.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Kind of funny going, hey, I'm the only one not running for anything. That's
Right.
speaking.
Right.
From the political class that was up there, but
From
he goes
Detroit, right? Detroit?
no, David Clark is Milwaukee County.
Milwaukee County.
So, he had a very good speech. So, of the three that you gave me, yeah, there's a couple. I didn't read enough on the third one. So
You give them to me, and then I
yes, I know, but I don't always get a chance to read all of them.
I know, I know, but I'm just explaining to the audience. So Mike is gracious enough that in his he likes to multitask. So he'll send me links, and then come show day, I pull them all, and then I try to highlight them up, and then I pass them out. And if Mike and Dan bring things to the show, then that's great too. But at least everybody's got some stuff to talk about.
This one's a little bit old, even though the date says April 10th on the article. It actually happened a little bit. Well, I guess the awards were actually that day, but the decision was made and talked about a couple weeks before that. From the Washington Times, the Army awards Fort Hood victims the Purple Heart. All I can really say about it is about goddamn time. Yeah. And it is, whether tacit or not, it is finally an admission that this was not workplace violence. This really is, and any of us that have served all tend to have the same opinion. This was an act of terrorism on our own shores. You have a guy that betrayed his oath and betrayed his comrades and did harm. So this wasn't a green on green incident of workplace violence just because of something else he was suffering. So it's about time that they got the awards.
Right. No, I thought it was great. I didn't realize that they hadn't done it until you sent me the article. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, and what's funny is that this one of the things you did highlight in here was that it was part of the eligibility was changed in last year's defense appropriations bill,
right.
And they're just now getting around to it. So it's pretty much about all I can really say on it. It's one of those that has irked me since the day it happened,
and it happened years ago.
Glad they finally came around and got their heads out of their asses. Yeah. Since it's after 9, I can say that.
Yes, you can.
The other one is one that just irks me and irks me too from some of the comments that we've heard from friends and other sources. But there was an article on WTOP. It's been in the news for the past couple of days. There's been articles on a couple of other places as well. WTOP's article title is Maryland quote free range unquote kids found alone again and taken into custody. So this is the second time it's happened to this one family in Silver Spring, the Silver Spring Tacoma Park border area down by Montgomery College Tacoma Park, and two kids ages, I think it's 10 and 6.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, 10 and 6, little boy, 10-year-old boy, 6-year-old girl, whose parents allow them to walk to a park that is about 0.8 of a mile from their house, let them play by themselves, and let them come home by themselves. For the second time in a row now, the second time in probably as many months, picked up, taken in by the police, taken to CPS, dragged out for the parents trying to find them and get them. Parents put through having to sign an agreement with Child Protective Services that they will not let their kids out of their sight, period. I can look back and go, what kind of a nation have we become And yes, so full disclosure here, I'm a parent of 4 kids. And my wife and I have some differing opinions on this particular type of case, but we know where we stand on our kids in this particular issue and why we do what we do with our kids. But and the main reason my kids don't get to roam everywhere is we live not directly off of, but kind of like you, we live off of a 50-mile-an-hour double yellow line road. So yes, there's certain places where the kids are not allowed to go without supervision, despite their ages,
Right.
because it's a 50-mile-an-hour or it's a 40-mile-an-hour road right where we are. If it turns to 50 about a half a block down the road, and people do 70.
Right.
I mean, people come into my neighborhood at 45, 50 miles an hour, and we're just inside the neighborhood boundary. But I can look back at my childhood. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'll be 45 this summer. Child of at the time this article was written, I had just moved back. The time when I was the age of the oldest kid in here, I was 10. My brothers were 8 and 6. Mm-hmm. We walked a half mile to school by ourselves. We were latchkey kids. I had the key to the house. We got off of school. We went back into the house. I let my brothers in. My mother worked until 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're home alone for an hour to 2 hours. And our free range limits, to use the term from the article, I could go roughly 2.5 miles from my house to a grocery store that was nearby, to one of the rec centers, one of the county libraries. In one direction, I could go that far because I didn't have to cross a double yellow line. Our rule was very simple. Don't cross a double yellow line in a speed limit of more than 25 miles an hour. Okay. And my mom at that age, I think all of us at this table can sit here. Yes, Bolts, I know I'm a youngster. All of us sitting at the table can probably say, "Hey,
yes, he's a baby."
The rules are
an old fart.
The rules are simple. When the street lights come on, how many of us remember this? Get out, go outside and play. I don't want to see you in the house until the street lights come on.
Well, the rule for Lily is during the summer, when the street lights come on, you come in. Screw it up, you don't go outside the next day.
Yeah, that was pretty much the same thing we got. We had a little bit of leeway.
You don't get to watch TV either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like you're going to, sit and melt your brain because.
So I know we have some people that have seen this and some of our mutual friends that have said they've heard from others that CPS says, we don't know the whole story and we can't tell you because of privacy laws. But I'm sorry. I can kind of look back at this from the same way that I would look at some of the criminal issues. If there was a crime committed, charge them. So one of the initial things was said they were going to be charged for leaving their kids unsupervised. We talked about this, I think, the first time it happened on the show. There is very little in Maryland law and at the state level for statutes, and even in Montgomery County's Muni Code in this particular case, that discuss what are the limitations on your kids. PG County has the most well-defined in their municipal code for what can happen, and that tends to be the one everybody looks at. The only limitations that are in state statute are where can you leave a child alone? Right. You can't leave a child locked in your car if they don't know how to get out of the car. You cannot leave a child locked in a house or within a room in a house where they do not have, by age or physical ability, the ability to get out. The law defines that as, I think it's 8 years old for those 2 cases. So any child under 8. And PG County takes it a little bit further and says you can't leave a child alone overnight until they're 16. You can't leave a child in the care of another child unless the other child is 13 or older. But Montgomery County doesn't really have a whole lot, and the state really doesn't have a whole lot. So all these people trumpeting that there was laws broken, well, go look. I don't find any. And I'm sorry, I'm very distrustful. I've been in the fire service for 21 years. I'm very distrustful anytime CPS is involved. I've never had a positive encounter with CPS. I know there are people that have. I've never seen it.
This just came across my Facebook feed.
Oh my God. I'll honestly tell you, I will not be wearing that at your pool.
Thank you.
Or any other.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is it something I want to wear?
If you're going to wear it, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, I'm moving. Men's crochet thong for beach or pool or lounge.
Oh, I've seen that.
Custom made in any color. Oh, good heavens.
Yeah, I think Bolts was talking about that at one point.
Yeah.
Getting that for when he moves down south.
So anyway.
So,
But yeah, back to this story. It is, the first time this happened, first of all, what you need to understand about social services is when you get investigated, and having been a foster care parent, having been an adoptive parent, we have been through just about every process that there is to go through, and they don't find that you're, they find unsubstantiated. That's the best you can hope for. Okay. And then they're supposed to expunge your file, but unless you go in there and make sure they actually physically do it, it sits there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they pull your file, and then of course, then the ridiculous thing is later on, as a foster parent, you get a call because you have a child who, in our case, was hydrocephalic and had short-term memory problems. Therefore, we knew she had been abused, but we never knew by whom, because she made these allegations over and over again long before she got to us. And long story short, what are you laughing at?
Nothing.
keep going. Just keep going.
Don't look in the chat.
Just keep going.
Don't look.
Okay.
We told you not to look.
Ew.
We told you not to look.
No, you're not either. You're not sending them to me. You're not sending me wet thong shots. But anyway.
Would you drink them?
At any rate, I'm trying to make a point, and you all are like derailing me.
And?
Okay, moving on.
You're the one who keeps inviting us back.
But it was a valid point on the topic that
Yes,
you brought
and
up.
keep going,
Yes,
because
keep
I have
going.
another one I want to make about
That's
it.
right.
So stop.
Okay, I'll behave for 5 minutes.
Right. It's like not disapproved. That's exactly right. It's like not disapproved. Okay.
Yeah.
So, with this poor little girl, and now I forgot where I was going, but I remember it was about her. And so years later we get a call and they say, well, she's made allegations and we're going through all of her former foster homes and blah, 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 blah. And we want to interview your daughter. Why? Well, we want to know blah, 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 in case anything happened to her. And I said, she's on honor roll. She's perfectly normal. She's this, she's that, she's the other thing. She has none of the trademarks of a child who has been abused. So if you want to talk to her, you will come through me, or I will be removing her from the public school. And quick got my fabulous attorney on the phone. And then at that time, this was a couple years ago, I went and spoke to her principal and was a little bit nervous about how that conversation was going to go, because she goes to public school. And I said, let me be clear. Social services rolls in here. They are not to speak to her unless John, myself, or my attorney, and here is my attorney's card, okay, are present. And he said, I cannot stop them. But I have grown up with foster siblings. I will go as slow as I can. We will call immediately, and we will slow this process down, because I explained the whole situation, all of the details of what was going on. And we hadn't even seen the child that and she'd already made like 8 sets of, before she got to us, she'd made like 7 sets of accusations against like everybody. So she did, poor little thing. Something had happened to her, but nobody knew where. And it obviously didn't happen here if she'd made accusations 7 other times. So, of course it was not substantial. So I go up to social services to talk to the social worker. This is my point about the file. To talk to the social worker. And I said, look, I'm not asking you to disclose information to me that you are not permitted to disclose, because the child's needs are very important. Did you read her file? Well, what do you mean? Did you read her file? Did you read the fact that before she reached us, she had made these accusations against many other people, that she's got a short-term memory problem. She's got water on the brain. The child has a lot of issues. Did you read the file? Well, no. I was just going to interview everybody first. And I said, you will not be interviewing my daughter and upsetting her about something that didn't happen, and because you didn't bother to do your homework. And by the way, here is my attorney's card. And I bet you know who my attorney is. So anyway, but that's the bottom line. That is the bottom line. If you don't make sure that they do what they're supposed to do, they won't be doing it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So there's a couple of people making comments about the park where they were and everything else. And I know the area. I used to live down that way, and I've ridden calls in that area a bunch. Some of the areas not the greatest. Some of the areas does have the kids walking through the lower parts of the central business district near the old police station for District 3. Yeah, there's some parts where it could be questionable, but there was the audio stream interview yesterday and today for WTOP had somebody on there who pointed out that in this particular case, abductions of kids in that age group are not what we think they are. It's less than 1/10 of 100, 1/10 of a tenth of a percent. But it's a parental decision. We have rights as individuals and as parents to raise our kids in the way we see fit.
Correct.
If they're violating a law, fine, charge them for violating the law and go after them. Take them to court. Do whatever you need to do if you can prove the allegations. This crap of unsubstantiated and never being free from the system unless you move out of the county because the counties don't talk to each other, is BS to me. And whatever eventually may or may not come out about this family, we don't know the details. We don't know everything that's going on about the case. We never will. But it's up to people to figure out. Your kids have to learn independence at some point. They have to learn to trust each other at some point. They don't grow if they don't learn those things.
And I mean, I have testified on behalf of, that's how I got started in politics, was testifying on behalf of Jessica's Law, which had to do with pedophiles, and making sure they didn't get good time credits and dim credits and this and that and the other thing, just keeping them where they belong as long as we can keep them there. So that's how I got started. So, and I've explained to Lily, not quite what I was testifying on, but she, oh, Mom, how come I can't do this? How come I can't blah, 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 blah. Why are you so, you know what? Mommy works on legislation that has to do with very bad people who do very bad things to children. Okay. So you're just going to have to deal. You know what else you have to deal with? A mother who's a former teacher. Do your homework. The requirement is A's and B's. How many times have you two heard that in this house? So, yeah. Yeah. So,
How many times have we heard that in the office?
True. So, but she's got them now.
Good deal.
She does. She has them. And if she keeps them up, she'll get to go to the Taylor Kniff concert. Oh, my. Oh, she's very excited.
Is that like Digitor?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Kind of. Only I think this guy sings. I have no idea. So anyway.
And gyroplane, I personally have done that walk because I've walked plenty of times between Silver Spring Metro and the Tacoma Park campus. For those of you that have lived in that area for a while, before the company went defunct, I used to work for Silver Spring Ambulance, which was headquartered right in the middle of where they're talking about for this. And yes, I'll agree. There are certain parts of it that are not that great. And there are certain parts of it that are within a block of where it's not great that are quiet as can be. So, and yes, they probably are likely, publicity hounds and everything else, but
and that may be, but
it's a parental rights issue in this particular case to me, and my rights and freedoms are very important to me, and I don't want to see anybody else's diminished and trampled on without due process. So if they're breaking a law, if they're mistreating their children and the allegations can be proved, then they need to be proven. If not, it needs to be taken and a lot of this is the modern age of media as it happens. And
speaking of intrusions onto your personal decisions, and in local news, the county, one of our illustrious, God help us, commissioners, has introduced legislation that if you want to have a beehive like you want to put in a beehive, not one grow,
Right.
not they picked a tree and made one. But if you want to have a beehive, it must not be within 1,000 feet, I want to say, of a residence. Well, have you driven around this county?
Okay, and what farmhouse is not within 1,000 feet of their fields?
Well, there's an environmentalist that, locally that it is a rare thing indeed that we agree on, because he is don't build anything new, and I think I think if we can sustain more businesses along the Route 50 or 301 corridor, I don't have a problem with it, because it doesn't interfere. Anyway, we don't agree on much, and for once, we absolutely are in agreement on this. It's my property. If I want to put in an aviary, I mean, obviously that would maybe piss off my neighbors if they got stung. But as Jay pointed out, you're only going to get stung if you go screw with the hive. So,
and only if you screw with it in the wrong way.
Well, don't screw with the hive. So, now I probably wouldn't put one in because I wouldn't want the ew. Is that what you were thinking?
No, I was going back to an Alice reference.
Down the rabbit hole?
No, different Alice.
Oh, don't ask Alice.
The Umbrella Corporation. The underground facilities for the Umbrella Corporation were called the Hive.
So anyway, all right. So that's it. That's what I got. So I'll let you know what happens with that piece of legislation. But it just irritates me. It's like, you know what? We got so many farms and so many large lots, and this. And you know what? I pay my taxes. As a matter of fact, living in Centerville, and granted this is a county ordinance, but living in Centerville, I pay state, I pay federal, I pay state, I pay county, and I pay municipal taxes. Get the hell out of my yard. Anyway, that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Gentlemen, anything else we didn't cover?
Got a local one.
Go ahead.
Has to deal, and this was brought up in the hearings.
Morpheus, you're right. Kennedy wants to know, so can you place a bee? You can't place a beehive within 1,000 feet, but bees can take up residence in your home or nearby tree or bush should they be sighted.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
So back during the Senate bill hearings, we were talking about self-defense for a definition of good and substantial, and how it's subjective for Maryland State Police. And I brought up the incident of a certain realtor that is having issues. Apparently, he's still having issues. He got a letter of denial. He has since asked for an informal review. He got a letter back from licensing division that the sergeant that was doing his denial was going to schedule him for the informal review. At which
Same thing I got.
At which point, this individual,
Same sergeant, but he was a corporal.
yes, but this individual has sent in an email and requested that the sergeant's supervisor perform the informal interview. And he's also submitted a couple of PIA requests for some information that he'd like to have before he has his informal interview. He also courtesy copied the email to his delegate, and the delegate forwarded the email to Colonel Pelosi with a brief note that says, "Congratulations on your appointment. I'm forwarding you a copy of an email that I received from one of my constituents, Mr. X. I wonder if this reflects a need for an internal change of the appeal review process for concealed carry permits. I would appreciate your thoughts. Delegate McDonough." So we've got a delegate that's involved, and there has since been a video by Jack McCauley, who at one point was the commander for licensing, that when he was in, he made it a process that informal reviews were not done by the individual that sent out the denial. They were done by their immediate supervisors. So it would appear that MSP has dropped that standard and done away with it. So it'll be interesting to see what the next step is.
Yep, it certainly will be. So I'm sure Tim will keep us informed. And
I didn't want to drop the name, but
I just said first name. So because he didn't give me permission, and I'm sure there is more than one Tim that has applied for a CCW who has been denied and perhaps even asked for an appeal. So anyway, and besides, he's not listening, so that's what he gets for not listening. So, and y'all can tell him I said that because he knows I love him. But anyway, anything else?
I got nothing.
Actually, I think he heard you because he is listening.
Well, how do you know that?
Well, he may be listening, but not in the chat room.
Oh, well, okay.
Yes, he is.
All right. Well,
Trust me.
fine. Fine then, Tim. Be that way. I don't even see him coming up on my. Anyway, I think that's it. I think we saved the best for last.
Yes,
Tim's a good guy.
he is.
And
And I got your text. I'll give you a call tomorrow, Tim, per our discussion.
all right. Good. Okay. We'll be back next Wednesday. I have no idea what we're talking about, but it'll be current and it'll be fabulous. And you never know who will pop up. And going to see when Miss Shannon is coming back through and see if we can enlist her to come and spend the night, maybe have a cocktail with me so I'm not the only one in the room drinking. And anytime you guys want to come out and be in the studio with us, please feel free.
We've got 2 empty chairs you can watch from the cheap seats.
Yep. So, and so there we go.
So one callback before we end up.
Yeah, no
So Gyroplane wrote read Snowden and share. Yes, most of us that have been through the permitting process or had issues or investigated it know about the 2 Maryland Court of Appeals decisions that are Snowden and share that are the baseline for what MSP follows. The issue that I have with those is that we have not seen anybody get through the court system since Heller and McDonald to change those. So while they are currently not law of the land, but a court decision for Maryland, within Maryland, it is what it is. But there hasn't been anything to force the Maryland Court of Appeals to make a different decision because nobody's gotten a permit process up to that point yet since. So,
Well, maybe we'll have a few coming up then.
I mean, it's one of those things. Yeah, we can either change it through as one of our other members on the boards that happens to be an attorney says. There are times when it can be done through legislative, and that would be a good process to do. It can be done through the courts, which is slow, but when it happens, can have some significant consequences. So we'll see.
Okay.
Are hecklers allowed? Perrin, we heckle her all the time.
All day and all night.
Come on down.
What else is new? And you know the way. And if you come early enough, we'll take Mike and Dan, if he's available, over to Pintail. Because I know
we can watch Andy miss.
No. The nice thing is, even though he's been trained on a rifle and he does really well with handguns, Mike's not actually practiced up with a shotgun.
I've never shot a shotgun.
Really?
I wasn't going to commit you that far.
I have never fired a shotgun.
Perrin, get your butt over here on a Wednesday. So
we'll have to do that.
We will have to do that. So actually,
I actually there's a meeting that I'm going to tomorrow night where
tomorrow night.
Where 2 of our gentlemen have from the club that I joined have gone and looked at me and went, "What?
Yeah,
we can solve that, right?"
Yeah, you should learn on my shotgun though because it's freaking awesome. I mean, really, with your shoulder.
Something tells me that the JJ and RG can solve that too, but.
Right, but with your shoulder, my shotgun would be better. There's more kick on my 243 than there is on my 12 gauge, and I kid you not. So, anyway, all right. Well, McLean, Virginia is nice. Okay, well, that's good to know.
It's a little far to go.
It is a little far to go, yes.
Especially since PG's skeet ranch is in my backyard.
So, and Perrin's wife likes to shop at the outlets. So.
Okie dokie.
It all works out. It all works out. All right. So we are out of here. Do you have outtake music?
No, I do not. Not tonight.
Doobie doo. That's not going to work?
No.
Okay. Well, not good.
From Dan Blasberg and Mike Doherty and myself, thank you again for tuning in and participating in Lock and Load, the Sine Die edition. We will see you next Wednesday. Same bat channel, same bat time. Till next week. Night, boys.
Adios.
Night, everybody.